So here we're going to take a look at, I didn't have a video here for you for while loops. I wanted you to investigate that by yourselves. But validating input with a while loop and the modulus operator, because we didn't really get a good look at it the last time around. So I've got here an example with the J option pane. So we're using Java Swing, but it doesn't really matter. The only real difference here is you'll see this message box as opposed to everything just here in the output for the console. I don't know why that was still running. We'll just go ahead and run this, and what I'll tell you is this program requires of you the user to enter a number that is more than minimum players, which is 9, and less than maximum players, which is 15. And what the modulus portion of this is going to do, and that's down here, which we'll get to in a moment, is determine how many teams we can play with and how many leftover players there are. So here, enter the number of players per team. Let's say that there are 10 players per team, because that's a good value, right? It's greater than 9 and less than 10. And we can see right here, team size is greater than the minimum and less than the maximum. So I'm going to hit OK. And how many available players are there? So I'm going to say that there's 22 available players. So what I'm saying is each team has 10 players and there's 22 people who can play. So think about this for just a moment. How many teams do we have? We have 2 teams, right? And how many leftover players are there? That means that there's 2 players who cannot be picked. So what we would expect to see is an output down here that says there will be how many teams with leftovers. Now, before I go hit enter, let's highlight right here. The number of teams is players divided by team size, right? So I think that is normal, right? You probably have that math under your belt, no problem. Here is where the modulo operator comes in. So what we have here is leftover, and we are going to assign to leftover the result of this operation. So what we're saying is, how many times does player, or how many times is rather players divisible by team size, and what would the leftover be? So we're saying that there are 22 players and that there are 10 players on each team. So 10 goes into 22 how many times? 2, with the remainder of 2. So the leftover equals 2. So that should be what we see if we complete this. There will be 2 teams. We got that. Players divided by team size. And 2 players left over, we got that with the modulus operator here. Now, I'm just going to run this one more time so that we can see the while loop in operation here. So remember that we do not enter into a while loop unless the condition is true, right? So what we're saying is that team size is less than minimum players, or team size is greater than maximum players. So we need, right here, we need me to enter in a team size that is less than 9 or greater than 15. Otherwise, I'll never enter into this loop. So what I'm saying is good input avoids going into this loop. So my previous example was good input. 10 is good input. But if I say 8 is the number of players I have here, the number must be less than 9. That's this input, or this output rather, window right here, and no more than 15. So if I put 17, I'm still stuck in here, right? Because that number 17 is entered in right here on line 34, and then we come back up to the top of my while loop, and the only way this happens is if those evaluate as true, and that is not true. my max number was, or my less number, no, it was the max number. Max number was greater than, or number was greater than max number. So if I put in 19, we're going to do it again because team size is greater than max number of players. So this time I'm going to cooperate. I'm going to say 12, and I get through this loop because here I enter in 12. We come up to evaluate. 12 is in between my minimum number of players and my maximum number of players. So this evaluates as true, and we don't enter into there any longer. So this is input validation, and this is the modulus operator, which is mathematical magic, really, as far as coding goes, because all the work that had to go into there to figure out team size is or players is divisible by number of players and what's the leftover, that's a pretty fantastic mathematical operation that you can do with essentially this little line. It is really cool.